Hi, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. This is kind of a late night meandering. Someone said, hey, what happened to the late night meanderings? Well, I started trying to get to bed earlier and somebody said to me, why don't you stop that meandering? You're always meandering. So, one says do it, some says don't, so I'm doing it. Well, what can we say about the differences if you come to live in the Philippines? There are many, and they do require huge changes in your attitude. Oh, by the way, can I just digress a little? I always do. I'm wearing this little microphone, which I hope is making the sound a little better. Of course, I'm not really loudering my voice, am I? I've still got a cold and a cough, and I'm pleading insanity. Is there anything else I can say? Well, back to the noise. Noise in the Philippines is really, as somebody said, noise is everywhere in the Philippines. It's even in a hospital. One of our subscribers said, oh gosh, the noise is even in the hospital. Wouldn't you think that somebody would change on that? And this person thought that if he or she actually made a point of it and put it up there and said, this is not right, this shouldn't be this much noise in a hospital where people are trying to recuperate, trying to heal, trying to get over injuries, some terrible, some not, expecting that you will change something is just, it's just so unreal that you're going to come in and change something simply by saying, oh, by the way, from now on we're not going to have any noise in the hospitals, okay? Oh good, I'm so glad I sorted that out. It's not going to happen. People are used to living the way that they are, and change is going to come slowly. So when you come over, try to leave behind, among all of those other things that when you emptied your garage and got rid of everything, try to get rid of the idea that you're going to come over and make a change in everybody's lifestyle. It really isn't going to happen. And in exactly the same way that if you are bringing a Filipina over to live with you in Texas or in California or some other place, I don't know, the frozen north, they're not going to make you change, are they? Are you going to change? Heaven forbid that anybody should say that you should change. Well, when you come over here, change is going to be slow, and you better understand that. I tried to give a good example another video where I ordered a piece of cladding for finishing our house, and I went over and I saw the lady at the hardware store, and I said, oh, by the way, what happened to that order for the cladding? And she said, cladding? Yes, the roofing material that I use for cladding on my house, and I ordered a sheet of red and a sheet of green. What happened to it? And she said, well, when did you order it? And I said, about a year ago. See what I mean? Some things are going to take a while to change, and it's not going to happen just because you set foot in the Philippines. It's not going to happen with your Filipino either. We just did a video on that. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to say is the difference here in the way that people interact with each other. And as you walk down the street, if you actually just smile at somebody, if it's smiling at a woman, they don't immediately expect that you think that they're going to go home, straight home, and turn down the bed sheets so that you can get in and have your way with them. They don't think that way. They think a smile is a gesture of friendliness, and that's what they think. And so what does that bring you to as far as interactions when you go in and actually try to work with various problems? Well, it's absolutely no point in getting angry, and this is something that you will have to learn, possibly the hard way, by becoming so incredibly impatient that you actually lose your rag, as they say in the UK. Oh yeah, well, he lost his rag, didn't he? In Australia they have a different way of describing it. When I was there, if anybody stamped off in a temper, they'd say, what happened? Did he spit the dummy? He spat the dummy? A dummy being a pacifier that they put in their mouth as a baby. They say, oh, he spat the dummy? So if you come over here, don't get into that whole thing of being terribly confrontational, as if it's going to change anything, because it isn't really going to change anything. All that anybody will do is you walk off in your temper. They'll just look at their friend and go. So the non-confrontational way of dealing with problems is the one that matters. Now, other people will do things differently, but for instance, our road up to our house, it cuts through and by other people's properties, and in one particular case, right at the beginning of our road from the city road, the man apparently owns that part of the road, and because we've had such incredible amount of rain, the path road it's just a dirt track, okay, it's just soil, hard packed by the passage of many feet, carabao, motorcycles, cars. Now when it really starts to rain and the water is held in certain places, it gets churned up and very muddy, and it happened that it made that change in front of this man's house, where he just had a very nice gate put in and a little concrete entrance into the driveway of his house. So he didn't like what was happening, and I guess was unwilling to confront the foreigner, and he went to the barangay captain and said, this is no good, they've got to have that, they've got to do something about that road. And then he issued the threat and said, well, I might have to close off the road. Well, obviously we're not going to let that happen. So we go out there with a few bags of, well, quite a few bags of gravel, and we start emptying it into the muddy patch in order to try to make it good. He came to the gate, and his wife as well, and I approached him in the Filipino way. I didn't say, what the hell is all this threatening to close the road? Who the hell do you think you're... No, I didn't do that. I just said, well, we're putting some gravel down and we're hoping that this will help. Sorry about this. I didn't grovel at his knees, okay? I just said, I'm sorry that it's happened. And I was. I don't want to have that threat hanging over us. I spoke to his wife and I said, we will attend to it, please be patient. And they have been. He comes out and he looks and he thinks, well, it's not happening fast enough, and we agree too, but there's only so much we can do at a certain point. So, non-confrontational, that's the way to go when you're here, and you will not get anywhere at all, especially if you try to start going in and raising hell with government officials, because what they'll do is they'll say, sorry, can't serve you, why don't you go to Manila? This is when you're on Bohol. Why don't you go to Manila or go to Cebu or anywhere, because they're not going to help you. So, now, the other thing, and this is a major thing with people coming to live in the Philippines, especially if they are part of an extended Filipino family, most of whom they don't know very well. Well, it brings in the Filipino, you can call it a glitch, others can call it an app, they can call it what they like, but it's ingrained into the Filipino psyche that they share. There is no way around this. You share. Now, the degree to which you share what you have, if you're coming over and you have this idea, well, I can live very well on the money that I have, you know, why don't they go out and get a job? You'll have various accusations that you level at people that may come to you for help. Well, in our particular case, we try to help. How did that start? It started when I looked at the life that some of my relatives have, my now relatives. These people are my family. Nanay is my family. Lena, Rado, all the kids, they are my family, and they share. Does it work out every time that I might be sharing more than someone else? Well, I don't make that judgment, and I don't give myself that burden to think about. What I do is I try to share that I can share, and if I can't, then I have to say no. And that's usually what people do when they come out here and try to live happily within the Filipino community. Of course, there will be people who take you for a ride or try, and it may be that they really are taking you for a ride, but in the main I have not found that this has been the case. They may well ask, and they may well hope that you will be able to give them, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 pesos because they've got to go and do this and go and do that, and it may or may not be true. They will be dealing with life as is appropriate and handleable for them. And for you to live happily in this happy community, this happy nation of people who have found that secret of happiness, happiness with what you have and not what you hope to get. That may be one of the major differences here, is that a lot of people in the West might think in terms of, I would be happy if only I could, and they send that message out into the universe or to God, or they make that their prayer. However they describe it and handle it, they put a condition on their wish. And when you put a condition on your wish, that condition is attached to the wish as well. So it's not a pure wish. And that's what you need to do. You need to have purity of intent when it comes to asking of the universe or God, or however you put it, for what you want and what you need. And you need to be looking at how you plan your future and how you plan to live in the Philippines, in a nation of people who share what they have, and coming from a nation that maybe don't share to that degree. It's up to you to realize that there's going to be a big difference. Coming from the West into the East in the Philippines means you're going to have to learn to share. Okay, that's enough from me on this. Hope that looking at the difference in life here and life where you live may have been a help. Bye for now.